Hey folks, I'm excited to share a new open source project Bitovi has been working on, Eggstractor. Eggstractor helps designers and developers work together in harmony. On the surface, Eggstractor is just a Figma plugin that extracts CSS from Figma designs. But one of the critical differences with Eggstractor, compared to other Figma to CSS conversion tools, is that Eggstractor doesn't produce the final CSS. Instead, it extracts CSS utility functions. Those utility functions are then used by developers to assemble their final CSS however they want. Let me show you a demo of what this might look like for a designer. Here, a designer has implemented in Figma a simple input and label component with multiple variants. You can see the component, its variants, and their structure in the sidebar. The variants are for the resting, hover, and active state. Let's say the designer doesn't like the active state's label color. It's too hard to read. The designer can simply change the label styles, generate the CSS Mixins, and create a pull request to update the Mixin files. After clicking the pull request link, the designer can see when a new build of the app is ready and see how their changes feel in the app itself. This is an amazing workflow that can speed up how designers and developers work together to achieve pixel-perfect pages. Let's go over what's needed for this all to work in a bit more detail. There's 4 things you need to do to set this up yourself. You need a nicely named and structured Figma implementation. You need CSS mixins extracted by the Eggstractor, a developer to mix those mixins into their final CSS structure, and the ability to make PR builds and deployments. Let's see a bit more on each of these. The names of the Figma nodes and variants are used to create the CSS mixins, so it's important that the designer names them well. If they want to pass Flexbox layout information to the developer, it's important they use Figma's auto layout capabilities too. To generate the mixins, click the Generate button. Notice how the mixin names match the structure of Figma. A mixin is created for each node. For example, there's an input resting, then there's an input resting label, and so forth. Before creating PRs, you need to configure the plugin with a personal GitHub token and a path for where the mixin SAS file exists. Finally, you need to specify the name of the PR and click the button. A PR will be created to create or update the file. Once developers have this mixin file, they can import it and use the styles and mixins as they see fit. In this example, I'm using the helpers in a more semantic CSS approach. I'm making use of CSS pseudo classes, hover to change what the label and input look like on hover, and focus within to handle when the input is focused. Notice how there's 2 mixins for the input? This is because Figma treats text and containers as separate objects. To make an input work, I have to mix in both the container and the text mixins. Finally, we have a GitHub action that builds the branch, deploys it, and adds a link to the PR. If I wanted to merge the branch and ship it to prod, I could, but I won't. There are other plugins that export CSS from Figma. Why use Eggstractor? The primary answer is we produce CSS mixins where most other tools attempt to produce the final CSS and HTML. If you generate everything in Figma, you're probably producing too much. By producing mixins, only the mixins that actually get used add their weight to the final build. Also, I think producing the right CSS and HTML is just too hard of a problem right now. Even in the example that I showed, is the CSS framework really going to know if you're authoring your CSS as object-oriented CSS or BM CSS or as utility-first functions? Is it going to know about how focus within and hover can accomplish the goals that you want if you're implementing your CSS that way? This tool says, here's a bunch of helpers from Figma. Devs, yeah, you have to do the last mile, but you probably know the right way of doing it. And I think the nice thing is the result is the CSS can be very simple. It's just your CSS structure mixing in the Figma helpers. Finally, Eggstractor supports Figma variables. Many of the other plugins do not support variables yet. Figma variables help designers enforce atomic design principles. Instead of allowing arbitrary values for properties, Figma lets you specify the values you allow. Variables also support theming, which makes it easy to create things like a dark and light mode. So what's next? Well, Eggstractor is just starting out. It's not even an official plugin yet. There's a bit more work we have to do before we fully launch, and the most important work is supporting all of the CSS properties that Figma will allow. We don't have things like blur and background shadows working yet. We also want to find some additional organizations to pilot this with us. If you and your organization might be interested in this workflow, please reach out to me. Once released, we want to build a design system that uses this. It will be the first design system where a designer can just update Figma and see all the components immediately update. And we want to support other CSS mixin formats and native CSS variables. If you're interested in Eggstractor, please check it out on GitHub. It has instructions on how to build the plugin for yourself. And of course, you can reach out to me and Bitovi if you need help building the next great app or getting your design and development teams working together in harmony. Keep innovating. Thanks.